Laverty, top open Honda rider on the grid this afternoon at qualifying.
For hard rather than extra hard rear tyre.
Marquez and Cal Crutchlow, Nick, both.
In the middle of the front row, the Suzuki of Aleix Espargaro, but in pole position for the second successive race and for the second successive time in Argentina. World champion, Mark. Argentina, I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside me, Matt Burt. Down in pit lane, Dylan Gray. Round 3.
Davizio's won the Ducati GP15.
Third row of the grid, Danilo Petrucci, Barbara.
Colombian Yoni Hernandez heads up row 5.
Row 7. Alvaro Bautista crashed out here last year and completing the grid. The man from San Marino, Alley Championship.
The big news is, Nick, at the start of this 25-lap race, Marc Marquez has gone for the hard option tyre. We know all 4 rear tyres, so fascinating to see how the early part of this race unfolds. Just over 50,000 fans packed in to this Termas de Rio Hondo.
Final talk about the weather. We can see sunshine from the commentary box.
Yeah, the sun has now come out. As we know, when it does come out here, it is absolutely baking hot. Track probably have this extra little game with the different tyre compounds.
Do you think it's a gamble for Honda to do what they've done?
No, I don't think so, because it looks...
3 of the MotoGP World Championship. We're at the Termas de Rio Hondo circuit here in Argentina, going for the extra hard rear tyre and not taking, the hard rear tyre and not taking the extra hard option. We will find out in the next 25 laps. Good afternoon to you. I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside Dylan Gray.
5 riders on the extra hard. Rossi, Lorenzo Smith, Paul Espargaro and Scott Redding.
Termas de Rio Hondo in Argentina. Round 3 of the MotoGP World Championship. And what a start by Marquez and Espargaro.
Espargaro currently running in first place up the inside of Marquez. Bad start by Andrea Ino, and he's back down to about 6th or 7th. Espargaro got away well on the Suzuki. He leads Marc Marquez. Valentino Rossi bumps out a bit at turn 5.
A Suzuki leads a Grand Prix race, perhaps not for long. The extra horsepower of the Honda just races past. Marquez will try and break them up very early on in 1, but they're fighting it out for 2nd place.
Valentino Rossi was started 8th. He's in 8th place at the end of the first lap. No big move from the 36-year-old at the moment. It's Marquez that leads on this 2nd lap. Marquez Marquez leads the way, but Cal Crutchlow has taken over 2nd place from Jorge Lorenzo. Lorenzo now fire on. Marquez making a big break at the front, already 1.6 seconds clear of Cal Crutchlow as Valentino Rossi makes a move up the inside of Aleix Espargaro at turn 5. Espargaro now back down in 7th place.
Yeah, dropping back through the field. There is Valentino Rossi. He has, you can see from the band on his tyre, gone from that extra hard.
2nd place, Crutchlow looking for his first podium finish since the Motul and Aragon race last September. He was on board the Ducati, but Marc Marquez still in 5th place. There's Marquez going through turn 7.
Yeah, through 7 and 8. +2 Crutchlow. That's exactly right.
The aerial view of the battle for 2nd. It is indeed a 2.5 second last left-hander. Will Rossi have a look up the inside now at turn 12? Maybe a little bit too far back to attack on this lap. He is indeed.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to be the flick it left now through 14. They come over actually the start and finish over the finish line, actually still cranked over. 20 laps to go here in Crutchlow. And it did bring the 2 Ducatis, as you can see, Davizioso and Iannone closer. Here comes Rossi. This time Rossi is through at turn 7.
No idea, did Hernandez, that his bike was on fire. Started smoking as he came out of turn 1, and then he went through turn 3. We could see flames pouring out of the belly pan of that Pramac Ducati, and Hernandez doing the right thing, jumping off, getting off the racing line. It's going to be interesting to see if there's been any oil dropped through that first sector by Hernandez.
That is the worry, isn't it? What caused that? Is there any oil being dropped? And he had to abandon the bike quickly. He didn't want to, but he had to. Look at that gap progression for Marc Marquez. Yeah, Crutchlow nice and tight. Rossi ready to make a move on Iannone. Up towards turn 1 they come. Crutchlow very close on Davizioso.
So struggling to stay in touch with this 2nd group.
And guys, some of the guys from Bridgestone just pointed out, look at Rossi's lap time. He's now actually even quicker than Marquez the last couple of laps.
Wow, Rossi moves in front of Andrea Iannone. This might look done and dusted with a 4-second advantage.
The run down to the first corner. Rossi now really close up on the back wheel of Cal Crutchlow. Rossi, surely he'll pounce soon on Cal Crutchlow and relegate the British rider off the podium.
Will he have a go at turn 5 at the end of that? The long back straight. They're through two.
Clear at the front of this race. The other one, Valentino Rossi, number 46, the 9 times world champion, having a good look at Cal Crutchlow. Big moment for Crutchlow. That's going through turn 7. He loses 1 place to Rossi. Crutchlow almost down at turn 7. He drops back to 4th. Rossi now inside the top 3.
Rossi up into 3rd place. Crutchlow now coming under pressure from Andrea Iannone. He's having a few problems, Crutchlow. No, Crutchlow, I think, just hanging in there. Here comes Rossi at turn 7. Rossi into 2nd place in front of Dovizioso.
This is where Rossi took 3rd from Cal Crutchlow on the previous lap, up the inside of Andrea Dovizioso. Now Rossi 4.3 seconds behind Marc Marquez with 15 laps to go. We know that Rossi's got the extra hard Bridgestone rear tyre on. He should keep grip for longer as the race distance goes on. There is Marc Marquez, number 93.
As Dylan so well pointed out, they're telling him it's Rossi in 2nd place now. Then he can ride the bike a little bit loose and slipping and sliding around. There's probably nobody better in the world than Marc Marquez.
We're just chatting with the Bridgestone guys again, so they've just confirmed that essentially you start off with a lot of grip, then you've got quite a steep drop, and then it stays relatively gradual. One thing they said, which happened in the last race, was that they could see those drop-offs, but that now, at the moment, most riders will be in what they call like a managing phase, so they're going to try and manage the tyre as best as they can, because the fastest lap times last year came in at the end, so they do try and keep something in reserve should they need to push.
That surely's got to be in favour of the championship leader, Valentino Rossi. It's a big gap, 4.1 seconds, but he has made, well, the correct tyre choice for him, certainly, as Dovizioso tries to close up on him at turn 5. Here is Marquez. Here we just keep ploughing on at the front. Made the decision on the grid to take the hard rear tyre rather than the extra hard rear tyre, which suggests everything is fine here, but it may go off towards the end of the race. Will it affect him like it affects most people? Probably not.
Probably not at now. There is the race leader, Marc Marquez. This is 13 laps to go into turn 5. The gap still just over 4 seconds.
Super to watch him through turn 5 into this sweeping turn 6. 12 and a half laps to go. He won the race here last year. He bided his time. It was a different race. He only took the lead, I think, on lap 17 after being down in 6th place. Then was a comfortable winner. Dovizioso is not letting Rossi get away in their battle.
Marquez there at the bottom of your screen, coming through turn 14. Now let's have a look at the gap as he comes over to start lap 14. Marquez 4 seconds clear of Rossi, so Rossi not really making any impression.
Not.
We're getting into the stage of the race where that extra hard tyre should be really coming to Valentino Rossi. You can see on the front there he's got that red banded hard option front. Marquez now has crossed the line to finish lap 14. Rossi over the line now, the gap down to 3.7 seconds.
Just be interesting because they've just told Marquez what is happening. I mean, 3.7 is still a mighty big gap, but they've told him he's starting to close. Let's see what he's got now. Really push on to try and open it up again. It's going to be a fascinating last 11 laps.
Andrea Dovizioso keeps the press.
An hour. But Marquez, he can face any situation, but it's not the easiest situations for him here, knowing that he's got to push on as hard as he possibly can, but just slightly worried, and Rossi now is beginning to lap considerably quicker than him, isn't it?
0.3 of a second on Marquez. Marquez over the line now to start lap 16. The gap down to 3.4 seconds. Rossi's taken another 0.3 out of Marquez.
There may be little Marquez can do, because if he puts...
5. Rossi just opening up a bit of a gap now on Andrea Dovizioso in 3rd. Iannone remains in 4th. Cal Crutchlow with best lap of the race so far from Jorge Lorenzo as he tries to cut the gap back to Crutchlow. This is Rossi now going through turn 6. The gap now through the first 2 splits down again to 3.1 seconds. Rossi edging ever closer to Marc Marquez.
Oh, what a race this is going to be. 9.5 laps to go. Looked like it was done and dusted for Marquez. Rossi's certainly gotten him in his sights now. Dovizioso hanging on there in third place. Wonder what the board is going to tell Valentino Rossi.
Lap 16 completed for Marc Marquez. He's over the line now. Rossi comes over as well. 3 seconds is the lead. Valentino Rossi takes another 0.3 of a second out of Marc Marquez. Now, what Marquez could be doing here, he knows he built up an advantage of over 4 seconds, so he might have just backed off slightly to try and manage his rear tyre, nurse it home to the finish. He has still got 3 seconds with 9 laps to go, so Marquez might just have eased off his pace a fraction, just to, as we say, try and preserve the grip of that rear tyre, Nick.
He must have realised what the situation may be right from the word go, and that's why he went out so quickly. And he's worried about the tyres at the end of the race, he was telling us yesterday. But here we are, Marquez. Front tyre hard, rear tyre hard. Valentino Rossi, the big difference is their rear tyres. One on a hard, one on an extra hard. And you would think, logically, that the extra hard will last the race distance longer.
Don't forget, Marc Marquez did come to the grid for this 25-lap race with the extra hard fitted to his Repsol Honda. He changed on the grid to the hard option. Marquez, well, he took a 10th back on Valentino Rossi on that lap, so you do wonder if he did just ease off for a couple of laps just to try and save a bit of grip on that tyre. If it remains as it is now, Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi will head to the first European round of the World Championship in Jerez in 2 weeks' time, level on points in the World Championship.
Marquez would be the official leader after winning 2 races. He may have managed this race quite brilliantly. And I tell you what, we're going to find out in the next couple of laps if that is the case, as they come down towards turn 5 with 7.5 laps remaining.
Good first sector on lap 18 by Valentino Rossi. You can see on that graphic there, the gap down by 0.4 of a second, from 3.127 seconds to 2.748. So Rossi good through the first sector with that extra hard rear tyre.
He's pulled back another 10th through the third sector. These are crucial, these are graphics coming up. Absolutely crucial, because it just will give us an indication as if Marquez is having to slow with the tyres, if he's been looking after the tyres. And Rossi, obviously very fast, very consistent, very confident in that rear tyre. Here we go. He's getting closer.
Rossi, another 0.2 of a second quicker through the third sector. Edging ever closer to Marc Marquez. It was only 3 or 4 laps ago. The gap was 4.1 seconds. Rossi has recovered 1.7 seconds as Marc Marquez crosses the line now to finish lap 18. The gap down to 2.314 seconds. Rossi has just set a personal best lap of the race, a 1:39.399. He was almost a full second quicker than Marquez.
Dylan, our tyre man. It looks like it's happening, doesn't it?
Exactly. This is exactly what Bridgestone were predicting. They said the tyre's going to drop off that hard a lot more. The thing is, will he have anything in reserve? He might be waiting to see whether Rossi can catch up or not. That would be the clever thing to do. But, you know, this was a gamble which Marquez took. They knew exactly, and he knew exactly, he had to run out. He had to build that gap because they would catch up at the end. Maybe they're a bit surprised as to how quick Valentino's catching up.
Rossi is catching him all the time. It's coming down to almost 2 seconds now. There's those top speeds, but Rossi is closing. There's still 6.5 laps to go. Marquez must know now that...
Crutchlow still hanging on to 4th. Here's the race leader, Marc Marquez. This is through turn 13. Let's keep an eye on the gap. Valentino Rossi there, just coming through your shot. Marquez over the line now.
What is the gap going to be? Crosses the line, 2 seconds. 2 seconds between Marquez and Rossi. 6 laps to go.
And Valentino Rossi, Nick, is dragging Andrea Dovizioso back into this fight as well. Rossi across the line with the best lap of the race for him so far, as was Andrea Dovizioso. Dovizioso less than a second behind Valentino Rossi. 6 laps to go of the Serba-Serbi Honda circuit. Marquez coming under intense pressure. His lead down to under 2 seconds. Rossi has found nearly 0.3 again through the first sector. The lead, 1.7 seconds.
They race down towards turn 5. Marquez on the brakes. Rossi, that familiar big right leg goes out. It's a masterclass of riding by the master of Grand Prix racing. But catching him and then passing him may not be so easy. Dylan, is Marquez keeping something in reserve, or is he just having to ride as hard as he dares?
Well, I'm still down here with the Bridgestone guys. They're saying they're not entirely sure, because if he is pushing, then that's actually going to be very bad for him, because the tyre's just going to drop off more and more. The thing he should be doing now is try and keep it as smooth as possible, because at least then when Rossi does catch up, then he might have a bit more in reserve. So it's more him who's got to keep a calm head. But, you know, this is exactly the kind of situation that they were predicting beforehand.
This lead is being slashed now by Valentino Rossi. It's down to less than 1.5 of a second. There will be 5 laps to go when they cross the line. Rossi is going to be with him pretty quickly.
Has the gamble by Marc Marquez backfired? Rossi over the line, a new lap record from the Italian in 1:39.019. His fans cheer him on in the grandstands. Rossi now within 1.2 seconds of Marc Marquez, and this is where he's so strong through that first sector. Rossi has dropped Andrea Dovizioso. It looks like it's going to be a shootout for the victory between Marquez and that man there on the charge, Valentino Rossi.
36-year-old. He's riding like an 18-year-old on a track bike, isn't he? Amazing stuff from Rossi. There's nothing Marquez can do at the moment. He made the choice of that hard rear tyre. Rossi said right from the word go he was going to go from the extra hard. He's got him in his sights. When is he going to have the first nibble at him? Knowing Rossi, he will go at him as soon as he possibly can.
Rossi found another 10th through the first sector on this lap 21. That's Marc Marquez ahead of him as they plunge down the short downhill to turn 7. Marquez now pitches it right, going through 7 and 8. Rossi, what a ride. Well, we said he started 8th on the grid and won in Phillip Island, and he started 8th in Qatar and won. He's putting up a pretty good fight to make it 3 in a row.
He certainly is.
Guys, looking at the data from last race, with roughly 5 laps to a go, this was the point when the guys on wearing tyres started to say, look, now I know how far it is to the end. Sorry, well, they know that anyway, but now they know that it's not so long, and we might see some of them start pushing. So let's keep an eye on Marc Marquez, whether there comes this point where he, say, pulls the trigger and says, now I don't have much left, now I can really burn the tyres up.
Marquez will not give this up without an enormous fight. You know that. 4 laps to go. Rossi in second place. The gap now 1.157 seconds. Be interesting through that second split just to see the gap. He's got him in his sights. He's not quite close enough. You've got a glimpse there. Dovizioso, Crutchlow, Iannone, Lorenzo, Smith, Aleix Espargaro.
Just a quick shot there of Marquez's crew chief, Santi Hernandez, checking the track temperature. Is that hard option rear tyre going to hold out for the victory? 4 laps to go. Valentino Rossi powers down the back straight. The gap now 0.6 of a second on the brakes into turn 5. Rossi as close as he's been all race.
Rossi's got him in his sights. There's the track temperatures all the way around. It's a lot hotter than it has been for the day so far. And it's getting late. It's coming up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here. The sun has only really come up in the last couple of hours. Marquez made the choice of using the hard rear tyre, not the extra hard. Rossi, from the word go, said he was going to use the extra hard. Who has made the right decision? 3.5 laps will tell us.
Through turn 11, Marc Marquez. Valentino Rossi has taken another 1/10 of a second out of the double world champion. Half a second now, the gap. Rossi almost right with Marquez as they come to complete lap 22.
Through the right-hander, flick it left over the start line. 3 laps to go, and an amazing Grand Prix of Argentina here at the Termas de Rio Hondo circuit. Up towards turn 1. Rossi chasing his second Grand Prix victory of the season, as is Marquez. Rossi closing all the time.
Unbelievable performance by the 9 times world champion through the second corner. Marquez having big moments. That rear tyre twitching as he gets on the gas. Rossi now, this is through turns 3 and 4. Rossi right with Marquez now as they power down the back straight.
Will he have a go first time? I don't think he's going to be quite close enough. We ride with Rossi. Marquez in front of him as they come down towards turn 5. He likes 7 and 8, also Rossi for overtaking.
Marquez now, this is through turn 5, runs it over the curb on the inside. Valentino Rossi now within 0.3 of a second of the Spaniard.
Seconds don't matter anymore now, it's visual. You can see Rossi closes up down at turn 7.
What a recovery by Valentino Rossi. He said all along that he needed to race that extra hard rear tyre. Marquez gambled, he rolled the dice on the grid. He came to the grid with that extra hard option on. We thought he was going to race it. He switched at the last minute to that red banded hard option tyre. Has that been his crucial mistake? 2.5 laps to go. Rossi now right with Marquez.
Down at 12 and 13, when they cross the line, there will be 2 laps to go. Marquez can probably hear Rossi closing up on him. Rossi does close on of 13, flick it through 14. 2 laps to go with this extraordinary Grand Prix of Argentina. They race up to turn 1. Here comes Rossi.
Marquez holds the lead going through the first corner. Valentino Rossi hugging his back wheel. Rossi so quick through this first sector. Will he have a look on the inside at turn 2? Rossi moves to the inside. Rossi's going to take the lead. Rossi up the inside of Marquez. Runs it a little bit wide. Marquez back through at turn 2.
We knew he wouldn't give up without a big fight. Marquez back in front. Rossi closes once again through 3 and 4. Can he get a slipstream and try and get out of the slipstream on the brakes into turn 5? Here we go. 93 against 46. Rossi on the brakes.
Rossi up the inside. Marquez had a bit of a moment on the brakes going into turn 5. Rossi leads contact there between Marquez and Rossi. Oh, Marquez is down. Marquez has crashed out of second place in the Argentinian Grand Prix. Well, they touched on the exit of turn 5. And as Marquez and Rossi went to flick into turn 6, Marquez clipped the back of Rossi and the world champion is down.
No points for Marc Marquez. A touch coming out of turn 5 with 1.5 laps to go. Marc Marquez race is over. Rossi surely now will win the Grand Prix of Argentina to increase his lead in the World Championship. Listen to the crowd.
What a remarkable last couple of laps we've seen. What a remarkable 23 laps we've seen here in Argentina. Valentino Rossi crosses the line to start the final lap.
He actually clipped the rear wheel, didn't he, of Rossi. Rossi into turn 1, past the Rossi grandstand. Andrea Dovizioso, another second place. There is going to be an investigation by race direction on that incident.
A dejected Marc Marquez walks away. This is the moment of the race. Marquez running a little bit too hot on the brakes. Rossi up the inside. And there's going to be contact here. Marquez is going to clip the back of Rossi. Well, that was almost a carbon copy of the Zarco Simeon incident, I think, in Texas. Rossi was going for the line through turn 6. Here we go.
I really don't think Valentino Rossi can take the blame for that incident, do you? We will find out. Mike Webb and Race Direction will decide that. In the meantime, let's celebrate an amazing, truly amazing ride by the 36-year-old Italian.
Marc Marquez at one stage was over 4 seconds clear of the field in this 25-lap Termas de Rio Hondo race. What drama we've seen unfold in the last 40 minutes or so. Confirmation on your screens, race direction. The incident between number 93, Marc Marquez, and number 46, Valentino Rossi, currently under investigation. Rossi, for me, was in front of Marc Marquez. So Valentino, he did have a little glimpse left.
Here we go, into turn 12, 13, 1 bend to go. His second Grand Prix victory of the season for them.
Loved that, didn't he? Crutchlow takes third with the best lap of the race for him on the final lap. Lorenzo crosses the line in 5th, but Valentino...
Scott Redding finishing 9th place. It's a good ride by Scott Redding. Right, let's just sort out the positions and then worry about what's going to happen. Rossi wins, Dovizioso 2nd, Crutchlow 3rd. Then Iannone Lorenzo, Bradley Smith, Aleix Espargaro, Paul Espargaro.
Rear tyre. Valentino Rossi at one stage was well over 5 seconds back. Valentino Rossi's championship challenge.
His 110th Grand Prix victory. He won in Argentina back in 1998 when he won the 250cc race in Buenos Aires.
He's won a few dramatic races in the 109 wins before that, but a lap by Cal Crutchlow, his best lap of the race, securing him a first.
Right, sorry to butt in. No further action will be taken after the incident between Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi. End of the matter. Rossi is the winner.
There you can see on that graphic running across the bottom. Miller crossing the line in 12th place, just beating Hector Barbera. But what a day for number 46, Valentino Rossi.
Where will this end? Where will this story? Where will this adventure? Where will this career end? An extraordinary ride. We saw in Qatar.
The headlines once again will be taken by those two. Valentino Rossi, joyous interaction, looked at the incident on the penultimate lap between Rossi and Marquez, deemed a race by 30 points.
You wouldn't have believed it, would you, going into that first race in Qatar? What was that, 4 weeks ago? But Rossi has won 2 of those races. Dovizioso has finished second in all 3. Crutchlow's put the LTR Honda there. And Marc Marquez is 30 points, yes, 30 points down on Valentino Rossi in the championship. A championship he has dominated for the last 2 years. They didn't know who they were down here in Termas de Rio Hondo. Well done, everybody.